Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube Table Enabled. We're finishing another week today. Simon Reish Hey and Arachayim 205 brachos yarakos, the brachos you make on vegetables. Even though in Reish Gimel we discussed the brachos you make on priha adam, fruits of the ground. Yarakos are also fruits of the ground. They're vegetables. There is technically a difference in vegetables and fruits. My personal opinion, the difference in vegetables and fruits is not whether you make hadama or whether you make hayetz, is basically whether whatever the fruit or vegetable would accompany an appetizer or a main dish. That would be a vegetable. If it would be used to make your drink sweet or to make your dessert sweet, then it would be something that would be called a fruit. But anyway, it's all semantics. Let's talk about bracha on Yerakos, which is Adama. Aleph, al Yerakos Varach Bar Adama, you make Bar Adama, feel a bishlam, even if you cook them, which makes sense, right? Take potatoes, you cook them, you make potato salad, obviously make Adama. Feel the chen called peros v'kitnios, all fruits and kitnios, which are beans, shetovim chayim uvushalim, legumes actually. They're good, meaning some people eat them when they're raw. I mean, you would, not some people. You would eat them whether they're raw or whether they're cooked. Mavarach aleim la'achar bishulam ki rechasan ru'ya lehem kodem shebashal. Just like when they're raw, you make a bari be'adama. Even after you cook it, you make bari be'adama. Aval, kara v'silka, kara is squash. V'silka, silka is beets, v'kruv, cabbage, v'chayos behem, shetovim uvushalim, yoser mechayim. Generally, people eat squash when it's cooked. They eat cabbage when it's cooked. Some people eat raw cabbage. I don't know. I mean, some of these salad bags, they have raw cabbage in them, so I don't know about that. Silka beets usually you want to eat when they're cooked. Shetovim v'shalom yoser mechayim. They're better when they're cooked than when they're eaten raw. Now, Mishabur says Melashite Mashma the Afkshem Tovim Chayim Gamkin came when Shem Yoser Tovim Shem Shalom Murash Hakol. Derech Rov Bnei Adam Lachim Gam Kshen Chayim Varach Bar Pri Adam. He says, it sounds like it's Mishal Aruch that people, 100% of the people would eat them raw and they'd eat them cooked. Nonetheless, since they taste better, the first case of the Shulchan Aruch was talking about they taste equally good. You know, if you took a survey, 50% of people would say they prefer it when it's cooked. 50% of the people would say they like the vegetable when it's raw. Here, 75% say they like it when it's cooked. 25% say they like it when it's raw. But everyone would eat it when it's raw, technically. So the Mishnah Berurah says that's not what the Shulchan Aruch really means. The correct halacha is rov, meaning if you have a majority of people would eat it, even if it's raw, right? Most people would eat when it's raw. You would still make bar piyadam. And the only time you wouldn't make bar piyadam was when most people wouldn't eat it. Even if exactly half of the people wouldn't eat it raw, then you wouldn't make. You make shahakol. When you cook it, that's the main way of eating it. You make bar piyadam. But to me, perish shumim, garlic, the karti, perish purat balas. Karti, if you look it up in the English Hebrew translation, means scallions or green onions, really the same, spring onions, the same thing. So there's a difference between green onions and, well, I think scallions are green onions. There's spring onions and there's green onions. Scallions are green onions. So Kashem Chayim Bori Adama, scallions generally eat raw. You don't cook them. Most people wouldn't eat them when they're cooked. Now, I don't know about garlic. I don't know. I think a lot of people eat cooked garlic. A lot of people have the minhag to eat on Friday night garlic because the Gemara indicates you're supposed to eat it on Friday night when you're married. So you should have more zera, should be together with your wife on Friday night. So I don't know. I go to people's houses. Some people have tons of garlic. I went to one person's house a couple of weeks ago and a month and a half ago, and telling you the whole table was full of garlic. There was garlic. There was cooked garlic. There was garlic in this dish, garlic in that, like cloves of garlic. You know, like this person was really really careful about eating garlic on Friday night. To the point, you know, when I was a bacher and I read the Gemaras, I learned the Gemaras, and the Gemara says, you know, you're supposed to eat shum Bilal Shabbos. You know, the Rishonim say the reason is Shmar Bezerah. I don't believe that's the reason. I believe shum, the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, makes you have a bad smell in your mouth, halitosis. So you want to eat on Friday night, so you shouldn't be together with your wife on Friday night, because the best time for being together with your wife, if you're Talmud Chacham, once a week, is Thursday night, which is clear from the Gemara in Mesechus Ksuvos. It says Arvei Shabbosos, Arvei Shabbosos. It says Erev Shabbos. It doesn't say Leil Shabbos. Look up the Gemara in Ksubos, right? If you look carefully, everyone wants to assume, oh, it's Lel Shabbos, Mitzvah Oneg Shabbos. But no, that's not true. What the Gemara says is really Lel Shishi. Lel Shishi. Lel Shishi is Thursday night. So it's a problem. People don't read the Gemaras correctly, but the way it's been passed down from generation to generation, you're supposed to have a lot of this garlic, because apparently, even though I don't think it's scientifically proven that garlic for sure gives you more sperm, but apparently the Gemara says otherwise. We believe the Gemara. No, the Gemara doesn't say that. You're just giving a wrong interpretation of the Gemara. But you'll oftentimes see people eating cloves of garlic. They cook it, they eat it raw. I wouldn't eat cloves of garlic anyway. I don't think it tastes good either. I mean, maybe garlic, you may have like garlic dressing. Maybe it's okay, but make sure not on all types of garlic. I don't know whether you cook it or not. Shem Chaim Bori Pri Adam Lachar B'Shulam Shahakal. When you cook it, you make shahakal. Hagel the Mishri Nishanu L'Grayusa. Because apparently, garlic and scallions, change for the worse when you cook them. I feel bishlam and basar nishtab. Let's say you cook some scallions with your meat. Ein hashevach misad atzman el machmas habasar shlehem. You want to cook some. This makes sense to cook some garlic in with your meat, if it's the right type of meat with garlic. Meaning, if it's good meat, from the plate or from the ribs, you're not going to cook with anything. If you're smart, use some oil for the plate. If you don't know what the plate is, look at the pictures of a cow. But if it's from the shoulder meat, or the neck meat, I can see people using garlic to cook it with. So if it's just used as a spice, and you have some leftover garlic, you make a shahakal. However, the discussion in the Mishnah Berurah centers around onions, because onions, I don't really know people that eat raw onions, but according to the Mishnah Berurah, he really says if you cook onions, you make a shahakal also, because it ruins them. Now, what I'm familiar with, no one eats onions raw. I mean, some people might eat them raw. You put in like your salad or something like that. You might put in a. I personally like to have purple onions in my salad. Most of the time you're not eating an onion raw. That that would be batel and raw, but whatever you're eating. Usually the bracha on everything is adama over there. Maybe you put some onions in some egg salad or something like that. Again, it's batel barov. So in ikar v'tafel, you wouldn't make a bracha on it. So most of the time you're eating it when it's cooked. But the Mishnah Berurah say when you cook onions, you ruin the onions. Now, if you go to Israel, you live in Israel. In America, they don't have this so much, but there's when you buy shawarma or something like that, the most popular topping for shawarma is batzel mitugan, which is fried onions. You fry onions, it tastes pretty good. Put a liter shawarma, and who likes shawarma anyway? If you're gonna take onions and you're gonna fry them, they taste really good actually. And a lot of people put onion in their chicken soup also. It tastes pretty good, the onion. So I think exactly the opposite. When you cook the onions, you should make adama. The minhag is people make on onion soup. They make shahakal for this. We'll see in a second. The halacha base talks about soups and onions. Whatever the bracha is of the vegetable when it gets cooked, that's the bracha on the soup. Even if you took the vegetables out. So people say on onion soup they make shahakal, even though every other vegetable soup would be adama. Say shahakal. I don't really agree with this. I think onions taste better when they're cooked. So I don't understand the Mishnah Berurah over here. Beis al mayim shebishlu bahem yarakos. Let's say you made a soup, right? You cooked. How you make a soup? You take water and you cook some vegetables in there. You might want to put some soup base in also. Mevarich habracha atzma shemevarich al yarakos atzman. The bracha. You make a vegetable soup. You make a dam on it. So even if there's no vegetables in it, you took the vegetables out. Make a dam b'shein behem elatama yarak. Even though they have only the taste of the vegetable. The honey milik shebishlam below basar. That's only if there's no meat cooked in the soup. Aval bishlam in basar mevarich al shakol. Because most people, when they have a soup with meat inside, what's the main part of it for them? The ikar is the meat, and the meat was also cooked. And the meat, whatever the bracha of the salad is, it imparts that bracha onto the liquid. So if it's cooked with meat, the bracha of meat is shahakal. So therefore it imparts to the liquid shahakal. And even though there's vegetables in there, the main part is the meat. So therefore, even if it's less meat than vegetables, it doesn't make a difference. The ikar reason you're eating a meat soup is for the meat. Gimel. We'll discuss in Iyun Ben Sion. Ian to lean on. Ian Ben Sion is the Ian Shrei Givan Daf Yomi. Ian to lean on. I will discuss halacha beis over here, where even though we said earlier in the week that if you mash up make applesauce or something like that, and you can't see what bracha, what the apples anymore. You make shahakol because you can't see that they're apples anymore. You mush up a banana, you mush up dates. You can't see the dates. You make jelly. You can't see the strawberries anymore. You make shahakol. Here, you take out the vegetables. You have no idea. You can't see the vegetables. Why do you make hadama? Based on the reason, the explanation I gave there, try to reconcile with this halacha and Ian to lean on Gimel im sachton. Take vegetables and you didn't cook them in water. You squeezed out the juices of the vegetables. You take some pepper, you squeeze out the juice. That's shahakol. Because the Mishnah Berurah explains is that when you cook it, right, the actual heat with the water actually takes more of the actual vegetable. You see that vegetables get cooked, right? They become like, you know, they become like decrepit. You basically took part of the vegetable out of it, If you squeeze out a bell pepper into a cup, the pepper remains pretty much the same. So it actually took part of the vegetable in the soup. That's why you make bar bi'adama. You cut it into very small pieces. You dice up some peppers, you dice up some onions. It doesn't make a difference. The correct bracha doesn't make it how small it is. Just like if you have bread, you take a teeny piece of bread, you make hamotz. Here also the bracha is hadama. Hey, halefesh shuchaim varach alav shahakol. Lefes is generally translated as relish. Now, no one knows exactly what relish is. I mean, if you go to Heinz, you can buy Heinz. What does it say on Heinz? 53 or something like that, 59. They have 53 different types of condiments that they make. Relish is basically some pickles, some sauerkraut together that you put on a hot dog or something like that. I don't know if that's what it means in halacha. One of the explanations here in the Mishnah Berurah they bring on the bottom is gezer, which is carrots. I would venture to say it's something like, left it would be like, what is it called? Coleslaw. Left it is coleslaw. You have some carrots, you got some cabbage in there. Kshuchai, mivarech alav shahakol. When it's raw, meaning you cut up some cabbage, you cut up some carrots, right? So you make shahakol. Aval mavushav, it's cooked. Oh, kavash b'chometz or b'chardal, right? You mixed it with some vinegar or mustard or mayonnaise, right? Bari pri'adama, then you make bari pri'adama because that's the normal way it's eaten. Even if you don't cook it, right? You just added some vinegar or spices over there. That is the normal way of eating is make bari pri'adama. You eat it raw, right? No one's going to eat. Most people don't eat raw carrots. Now, I don't know. In America, I grew up, they had these baby carrots. People would eat carrots raw. Bugs Bunny likes raw carrots. Definitely if you cook carrots in a soup, you make bari pri'adama. People eat it like that. Raw carrots, I think it depends, I heard generally brachos depend on which region you live in. So if you live in America, I think it's quite common to eat carrot sticks by themselves. Most people would eat it like that, so you'd make hadama. I think in Eretz Yisrael here, I don't really see too many people eating carrot sticks. I think most people would only eat it when it's cooked, and therefore I think in Eretz Yisrael, I think the correct bracha would be shahakol, unless it's cooked, then you make a bar bi'adama. That's the conclusion of today's share. Stay tuned for Ian to lean on, where I try to answer a question from my own chiddush earlier in the week. How do we align halacha beis with the chiddush I said earlier in the week? If you don't know the chiddush I said earlier in the week, listen to Ian to lean on. Here are two chiddushim today. One, the chiddush I said earlier in the week, and how I reconcile it with today's halacha. Ian to lean on coming up next.